What's up, VC? Bobby here, and the countdown continues. Welcome to my top 100 albums of all time. I got a lot of really nice comments on the last video, so thank you very much for that. I'm surprised so many people care about my opinion. I have a relatively low-key channel, and I do that on purpose. I don't really advertise or promote this or anything because I like to keep it low-key. It was Peter Gabriel who said, when things get so big, I don't trust them at all. If you want some control, you gotta keep it small. Hey! So that's what I try to do, but I do have those regular viewers that come by and leave comments and watch my videos, and I appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. It's morning. I'm drinking my coffee. Haven't even brushed my teeth yet. Apologize for that. I'm going to start right back into the countdown, and today we're into the top 90. So let's start right into it. At number 90, I've got Midlake, The Trials of Van Occupanther. Yeah, I'm telling this. You know, this album is it's a warm hug on a cold winter's day. It's like the lords of indie rock are wrapping their arms around me and saying, "Bobby, everything's gonna be okay." I love this album. Came out in 2007. This is the 10-year anniversary edition. It sounds amazing. There's some pictures of the band. Midlake are a band from the States who actually the first time I saw them when they were promoting this album, and their opening act was a then unknown artist named St. Vincent, who has gone on to see quite a bit of success. This album, it's mellow. It's definitely a throwback. I guess you'd call it indie folk or something like that. I remember when it came out, it drew a lot of comparisons to Fleetwood Mac. Obviously the Buckingham Nicks era of Fleetwood Mac, and you definitely hear that in the rhythm section, primarily the guitar work. I mean, there is no female voice, so it doesn't sound like them vocally. Yeah, this album, my goodness, the melodies, there's something about it, and you know, it's got such a comforting, warm and comforting effect on me, but it's not because of the lyrics, 'cause I don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about fur trappers and roofs and trees and things. You know, I don't know what the lyrically, I mean, I don't know that it's a concept album, but it's kind of got a concept album feel to it. The vocalist, Midlake since then, Midlake has changed their lineup a little bit, and they've got a different vocalist these days. Their music continues to be pretty good, but this is the album, I don't know, it's got something. This album, it's got a hold on me, and it might be the newest album on my list. I'm not sure, but it's just a masterpiece. This one's kind of cool too. It's on gold vinyl, which is really nice. Yeah, this is you should give this a listen. Primarily, there's a song. Well, the opening track, Roscoe, is quite good. Some people, I think that's where the Fleetwood Mac comparison comes in. Some people think it sounds a little bit like You Make Lovin' Fun. I think the opening piano part actually sounds like the theme song to MASH. Head Home is great. It covers the hillsides. Wow, yeah. Listen to this album. If you're feeling stressed out, listen to this album. It'll chill you right out. So that's my number 90. Number 89, it's the only hip-hop album to appear on my list, and I don't know a lot about hip-hop. I'm not the guy to talk to when it comes to that genre, but I like what I like, and I anticipated some other albums being on this list. The Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique very, very nearly made the cut. I'm really a fan of instrumental hip-hop, so like Donuts by Jay Dilla, DJ Shadows, Introducing. Those albums almost made the cut, but they didn't quite make it. It's another great album by a guy, Dr. No. He's Madlib's brother. He put out an album, I think around the same time, 2007, called Dr. No's Experiment. Really good. Anyways, even Public Enemy's Fear of a Black Planet almost made the cut, but didn't quite get in. But at number 89, we do have their other album, Public Enemy. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. This is the hip hop I like. It's just, it's in your face. It makes statements. Don't believe the hype, right? It makes some very powerful statements, but it's also got a touch of humor too, with Flava Flav doing his little thing on here, and that's before Flava Flav kind of became a caricature of himself. But this is it's a masterpiece. It's my favorite hip hop album, and that's why it is on this list. So Public Enemy, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. Yeah, Don't Believe the Hype, obviously. Bring the Noise, Night of the Living Bassheads, Party for Your Right to Fight. I think that's probably a throwback or a bit of a response to the Beastie Boys there. This is on Def Jam Records. This is the reissue too. Most of mine today are reissues, unfortunately. But this is the reissue with the ventricular cover there, so it does that thing there. Number 89, Public Enemy. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back. There are a few moments on my list where, you know, I initially put in an album by a band that I thought was a cooler and more individual choice. And then upon listening to their stuff, I just had to be honest with myself and acknowledge that sometimes the popular is popular for a reason. And this is one of those cases. Number 97, I've got Husker Du's Zen Arcade. Husker Du, a hardcore punk band from Minnesota, and I almost had their debut album on here, which is really hardcore, Land Speed Record. I almost put that on here because it's so abrasive and hardcore and in your face and whatever. This is them starting to be a little bit more melodic, and this is the one that makes a lot of people's lists. It's making mine as well. It's just a wonderful album. It's a double album. It's an ambitious project. When Husker Du wanted to release a double album, it took a little bit of convincing to the record company to do so, but they were able to pull it off. And there are still some hardcore punk rock moments on here, but yeah, by and large, it's a little bit more melodic. Side one, Something I Learned Today, Broken Home, Broken Heart, Never Talking to You Again. Those are all very melodic songs. But then there are also Dreams Reoccurring and things like sort of psychedelic noise rock moments. The last song on the album, Reoccurring Dreams, is a lengthy kind of jam piece. How long is that song? I mean, we're getting into 13 minutes, almost 14 minutes long. I mean, we're getting into some jammy psychedelic moments there. But yeah, it's a masterpiece, and it's my favorite Husker Du album, if I'm being honest, and that's why it's on the list here at number 88. Number 87, I don't think I had any jazz yet so far on this list. There will be plenty of jazz, trust me. It's one of my favorite styles of music. It's perhaps my favorite style of music to see live. Excuse me. I tell you, there's nothing like a morning coffee. Number one on my list is Morning Coffee. But anyways, here's the first jazz album to appear on the list. And it's Cannonball Adderley's Something Else. If there was ever a jazz supergroup, this is it. You got Miles Davis, Hank Jones, Sam Jones, Art Blakey. It's on the drums. This is one of those, it's a hard bop album, primarily, I think. And this is not too out there, not too experimental, but it's outstanding on the Blue Note label. It's one of those rare times where Miles Davis was the side man, and I'm a Miles Davis addict. Miles Davis is one of my heroes musically. And this album, it's amazing because it's got some of these songs like Autumn Leaves and Love for Sale. I mean, those are songs in many ways I don't ever have to hear again, but on this album it sounds fresh. The take on it, when you got this kind of talent improvising on songs like that, it just takes it to a whole other level. So something else, Julian Cannonball Adderley, sitting nicely at number 87. Growing up, as much as I want to pretend I was cool, I was so not cool. I was a nerd, especially in my early teens. I was such a nerd. And in the late 80s, early 90s, there was one band that all the nerds listened to, and that was They Might Be Giants. They Might Be Giants. This is their third album, but they're first on a major label after being signed to, what was it, Elektra? And their first two albums are great. This is their third album, and you know right from the opening track, the theme from Flood, the album's called Flood, and the first track, it's a 40-second piece, the theme from Flood, and it's you know this is going to be epic and hilarious, and it is both. But the thing is with this, They Might Be Giants, their melodies are very tight. Their music is very sharp. I know it's not for everybody. I know some people are kind of like, wait, this is children's music or whatever. And they did do some children's albums later on, but I'm sorry, this is too sharp to be children's music. And some people write them off as a novelty band. Their music's funny, there's no doubt about it, but again, it's like, I mean, novelty music to me is like, it's like Weird Al Yankovic, where you listen to it, once or twice until it stops making you laugh, and then you stop listening to it. This album, these songs don't make me laugh anymore. I've heard them 80 million times, but they're still great. They're great to sing along to. They're very strong melodies, and they're really, really clever. Especially songs like Birdhouse in Your Soul. Twisting has a bit of a Brian Wilson vibe to it. Someone Keeps Moving My Chair is very catchy. Hearing Aid. Okay, that song still actually makes me laugh a little bit. That's so ridiculous. Letterbox sounds a bit like REM. Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love. Their self-titled song, They Might Be Giants. Yeah, this is a promo German copy. I think I got it on Discogs. It might have been one of my first Discogs purchases, actually, but this is a classic. I listened to this. I had this on cassette and wore that tape out. Me and my nerd friends all got nerdy together, listening to They Might Be Giants, and yeah, they released a few other pretty good albums after this. They still have a good song here and there. I mean, people know them from the theme song to You're Not the Boss of Me Now. What is that, Malcolm in the Middle? But anyways, I love this band. They Might Be Giants. Flood. It's my number 97, I think. 7, 8, 9. Okay, wait. 90, 89, 87. I think it's 96. 95, 94, 93, 92, 91. Yeah, so here we are. Number 95. Also another hardcore punk band. Also on the SST label. In fact, this album was directly influenced by that Husker Du album. It's the Minutemen. Double Nickels on the Dime, another very ambitious double album. I think they were planning on they had an album ready to go, and then Husker Du released their Zen Arcade, and they were like, heck, if they can Husker Du it, we can Husker Du it. I think I've used that joke in another video. I'm sorry. It's early. I'm still getting up, recycling old jokes. But yeah, this album is a little less adventurous than the Husker Du album in many ways, but I mean, they're kind of an adventurous band anyways. Like they're punk rock, but they're also noise rock. Plus they get a bit jazzy, they get a bit funky at times. There's some great songs though. This Ain't No Picnic, Political Song for Michael Jackson to Sing, History Lesson Part 2. They do a really weird cover of Steely Dan's Dr. Wu. Anyways, Minutemen, Double Nickels on the Dime. Just an outstanding album. If you like your music funky and abrasive. D. Boone, the guitarist, Again, I don't play any instruments, so I don't know if he's technically a great guitarist or not. It sounds like maybe he's kind of a sloppy guitarist, but I love he's one of my favorite guitarists. I love the way his guitar sounds. So anyways, there you go, number 95. Number 94 is an album that doesn't need a huge introduction. It's made other people's lists. It's always on lists of the best albums of all time. And it's Patti Smith's Horses. Patti Smith, punk rock, but also with a bit of beat poetry, spoken word kind of stuff. Patti Smith is she's a musical treasure as far as I'm concerned, and I'm really bummed. She came to town a few years ago to do a show. I didn't go to it for whatever reason, and then when I read the reviews, it just sounded like it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I really hope I get the opportunity to see Patti Smith live at some point, because I've heard her shows are really a bonding experience between her and the audience. And you can hear that on even some of these early albums. So this is produced by John Cale. And yeah, it's got some pretty heavy hitters joining her as well. Tom Verlaine from Television. Anyways, just an amazing album. You know it. Gloria is one of the is obviously the highlight. Her version of Gloria, Birdland, and Land. Those are all longer cuts that sound amazing. Redondo Beach has a bit of a reggae vibe to it. Patti Smith, Horses. What do I need to say about that? Not much, right? Number 93 or something. 94. Number 94. Number 93 is some Krautrock. It's I almost put Eggy Bumyasi by this band on the list, but this is the one that won out. It's Can's Tagomago. Krautrock, progressive rock, psychedelic, whatever you want to call it. I don't do genres. Actually, I do genres all the time. I just lied to you, but I don't really know what I'm talking about when I do genres. This album, this is one of those albums that just gets better and better as the years go by. When it came out, it sounded like nothing else, and it continues to sound fresh. Like it sounds. This could have been released yesterday, and it would still be great. Again, there's a couple of side-long tracks on here, Hallelujah and Omgun, or however you say it, A-U-M-G-N. That's an unpronounceable word, as far as I'm concerned. The last song on the album, Bring Me Coffee or Tea. I'm going with coffee. Anyways. Oh yeah, 7 minutes and 22 seconds. Can. Tagomago should be on everybody's list somewhere, as far as I'm concerned. Just some awesome Krautrock. Number 92. Moving right along, number 92. It's one of my favorite bands of all time. Again, very difficult to pick an album by them. And I didn't have a rule that I was limiting things to one album per artist, but it's just I wanted so many people to be represented. It just became that way. But this is one of the best albums of the 90s. It is the debut album by Ride, entitled Nowhere. And every song on this is perfect. Seagull, Kaleidoscope, Polar Bear, Dreams Burn Down. I'm gonna hug this album too. Dreams Burn Down, Vapor Trail. Pitchfork.com named it one of the best songs of the 90s, apparently. And Pitchfork knows what they're talking about. They don't know. They don't really know what they're talking about. Anyways, Ride. Shoegaze. I mean, they're one of the leaders of the shoegaze movement, but certainly a touch of Britpop in there as well. You hear just a few of the later remnants of the whole Manchester thing sinking in here. So you hear bands like Stone Roses and stuff kind of creeping in. This is just a magical album, as all their albums are. In fact, they reunited. I got to see them a couple of years ago, which is one of the concert highlights of my life. And they released a new album last year that I thought was great. I think they're still doing it, and I think they're still putting out some pretty interesting stuff. So if you haven't heard Ride, this is a good one to start with. The album after this, I'm drawing a blank, but there's a song on there called Leave It All Behind. In fact, if I were to recommend a Ride song you start with Leave Them All Behind. Find that on your Spotify, on your iTunes, on your cassette players, kids. Find that song and play it, and then get sucked in to the world of Ride. That's my number 92 album of all time. And closing out this portion of the countdown at number 91 is Slynt. The album is Spiderland. This album came out in 1991 on Touch and Go Records. And Slynt is a band from, I believe, Kentucky. Louisville, Kentucky, I think. I could be wrong, but I think that's where they're from. And this album is often credited as being one of the first post-rock albums. Later on the list, I'll have another album that's also given that credit. I guess I sort of hear it. The music, you know, with the kind of the crescendoing instrumentation, I do hear that. There's a lot more vocal on this than you normally hear on a post-rock album. And the vocals are kind of, they're not really singing so much as they're sort of just kind of shouting out what seems to be random things. But this is an album that didn't get a heck of a lot of recognition when it first came out, but it's gone on to be considered a classic, and I would agree with that. Only 6 songs: Breadcrumb Trail, Nosferatu Man, Dawn Amon, Washer, For Dinner, and Good Morning Captain. This is, not too much to see here, just a black label. But, yeah, just a beautiful album. If you like post-rock, if you like kind of 90s alt-rock, I think this is kind of a good amalgamation of the two. I think they only released one other album after this, and then that was it. But the band photo was by Will Oldham, by the way. Fun fact. Anyways, there you go. That is numbers 90 through 81. Thank you again for watching, friends. And I'll hopefully next week, or if all goes according to plan, we will jump in to the top 80 on my list. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I'm loving watching yours, guys. And I'll talk to you soon, okay? Talk to you soon, okay? Bye.